Shalom. Do you know what a cicada is? That ugly, creeping, crawling insect. It looks kind of like a grasshopper or a locust, except that the North American species has these prominent blood red eyes. I know that it's hard for New Yorkers to imagine. We like our insects on television or online or in some kind of manicured state in Central Park, safely behind nets. But up and down the East Coast, from North Carolina to Connecticut, there is beginning now, as we speak, a cicada invasion. Once every 17 years, this type of North American cicada emerges from the earth in their billions. And this is their year. As soon as the temperature of the earth reaches 64 degrees Fahrenheit, on the 17th year, somehow the cicadas know it's time to emerge. Scientists expect 30 billion cicadas this year. There have already been reports of masses of these insects on the mid-Atlantic coast where the earth has sufficiently warmed. The cicadas that are emerging now were born in 1996, during the Clinton presidency. Before Facebook, before Twitter, before Instagram, gasoline was $1.20. The Dow Jones was around 5,700. A lot has happened since we last saw the cicadas. Their purpose now, as they emerge, is to molt, mate, and multiply. They shed their outer skin, find a suitable cicada stud somewhere up a tree, and produce the next generation of cicadas. 4 to 6 weeks later, this generation now emerging will die, but the eggs laid by the females will drop to the earth. The baby cicadas will burrow underground, and they will emerge again in 2030, 6 years after the Clinton presidency. We should all only be here when the new generation comes back 17 years from now. I don't like to repeat sermons, but I'll pull out this sermon from the file and deliver it again. We will know that the cicada invasion has begun because the male cicadas, having spent 17 years underground, they're only looking for one thing. They climb up a tree and call out to the females with an ear-splitting, buzzing sound, masses of them, billions of them, all together. Since we don't have too many trees in New York City, I don't know whether the cicadas will sing to us. But for those people who live outside of Manhattan in what they call nature, where they have stuff like oak trees, maple trees, pine trees, the decibel level of all of these male cicadas climbing up a tree and pleading for favors from females has been measured as louder than a rock concert. That's what you get when you have this 17-year urge that is pent up underground. It's actually sweet. It's a concert of love. The insect version of Woodstock in the woods. Up there on the trees, the males are pining for love. They're pining for love on the pine trees. In fact, scientists refer to the cicadas now emerging before they actually molt as nymphs. I want to suggest here 3 life lessons that we can learn from the cicadas. First, their day in the sun is fleeting. Above ground, they live only for several weeks. But their lifespan is long for an insect, 17 years. Just because we don't see them doesn't mean that they're not alive, and it doesn't mean that they're not active. For 17 years, they are nourishing themselves underground, getting stronger and preparing for their day in the sun. We don't notice, but it is occurring just below the surface. We have a tendency to value only what we see, only the surface things. We look at people of accomplishment, those who are professionally, financially, or personally successful, and we tend to emphasize what is before our eyes, the day in the sun. We don't really give thought to what we have not seen, the enormous work, the years of practice and preparation that has led to this success. There are seen and unseen elements to our lives, and both are integral. We may appreciate or even admire or envy the seen parts of other people's lives, but we do not give enough thought to the unseen work, the years of getting stronger, the years of nourishment and preparation. The same is true of those who are struggling. We tend to see only that which is before us. We do not think about that which we have not seen, their prior struggles, their years of hardship, disadvantage, and difficulties. We tend to emphasize only the surface things, their struggles that are before our eyes, not their difficult years underground. Jewish tradition was clear. Our purpose in life is not necessarily to succeed, however we may define success. Success is a good thing, but it is not the principal purpose of life. Nor is our destiny to fail. Failure, too, is an integral part of life, but we do not consider failure to be our permanent state. Our purpose is to work and to continue to get stronger, wherever we started from in life. The sages ask, Ezehu Gibor, who is a hero? How do we measure strength? Hakoveshet Yitzro. Strength is measured by how we master our circumstances, how we make maximum use of the reality of our lives. Our purpose is to produce, and to produce requires perseverance. Hours, days, weeks, years and years of unseen preparation and unseen struggle for a brief day in the sun. It is the work, the struggle, the perseverance that preoccupies our lives. The moments of true bliss, the moments of chirping and buzzing and flying around the sun are rare and short. We must keep going all the time, moving forward. Lo alecha amlacha ligmor, velo ata ben chorin libatel mimena. You need not finish the task, say the rabbis, but neither are you free to desist. Second, for the cicadas, there is strength in numbers. Untold numbers of cicadas are eaten by predators, but there are simply too many of them to decimate the collectivity. Most of the individuals survive because of the other cicadas in their midst. Their protection is other cicadas. And so we learn that while each of our lives is precious and valuable in their own right, we must also think of others. They are our real protection. None of us can survive alone. The world is too cruel and too dangerous. We would be eaten by predators if it weren't for others who were also looking out for us. And therefore, we must also look out for them. Our strength is through others. Jewish tradition is clear. Imenanili, mili. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? Uchshe'ani le'atzmi ma'ani. But if I am only for myself, what am I? On the one hand, we must take care of ourselves. Jewish tradition upheld the value of the self. Self-drive is good. Self-regard is good. Ambition is good. Without these, say the rabbis, no one would produce anything of lasting value. It is the ego, the sense of self, that drives and propels achievement and progress, according to the sages. But we must also keep faith with our humanity by enhancing the humanity of others. If we are only for ourselves, what are we? The Bible clarifies, do not withhold the good from those to whom it is due, when it is in the power of your hand to do it. And third, the cicadas are driven to act on behalf of the next generation. What we see of them is largely about working to ensure the prosperity of posterity. So we learn that life is not only about our brief day in the sun. Even the most fortunate of us will only have a moment. How sweet is the light, and what a delight to behold the sun, wrote Ecclesiastes. When we see the cicadas and we hear the trumpets, their celebration of life, once every 17 years and only for several weeks, we become aware of the inevitable, ineluctable passage of time. How many more cicada invasions will we see? Our lives are finite, and our time is limited. It is the law of life. Time disquiets all living things. There's never enough of it. It is the gold of our days. And therefore, there is an urgency for today, an urgency that redounds to the next generation. We also need to work to ensure the prosperity of our posterity. Our lives should be dedicated not only to ourselves and not only to others in society, but also to those who will come after us, to those not yet born, whose names we do not yet know, whose names we may never know, but who will ensure the future and give retrospective meaning to our own days. The Talmud records the story of a sage named Honi. One day, as he was walking on the way, he came across a man who was planting a carob tree. Honi said to the man, "How many years will it take for this carob tree to produce fruit?" 70 years, the man replied. "Is it so obvious that you will live for 70 years?" said Honi. The man responded, "I found carob trees in the world, just as my ancestors planted for me, so do I plant for those who will come after me." Amen.